Let's get deciduous. Welcome to the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Will Santana.
And I'm Herb Muddlefoot, cast as a construction worker? No, actually, just kidding. I'm Mike Russo, of course.
What's going on, Mike?
Pretty good, Will. Pretty good. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just, shampooing the carpet, getting the house cleaned up. We got some new furniture on the way. So, like, before the new furniture comes, where the old one was, I really wanted to clean up that area,
Nice.
Yeah, so getting that done. Got some new DW stuff on the way. But Stan, our buddy Stan, is after a big purchase, Mike.
Yeah, you told me. What is this big purchase of Stan's?
He's going for that Darkwing snow globe. I've actually never seen it before in person. I've only seen it in photos.
Yeah, me neither. I've only ever seen it in photos, mostly on eBay, when it does show up.
Yeah, I didn't even know it existed until about 2 years ago when you brought it up one day.
Yeah, it's definitely a very rare piece of merchandise.
Okay, yeah, I know Taurus Bulba's in it. You think that's also makes it a high demand thing because Bulba's on it?
I think that's part of it. I think it was a Disney Store exclusive too, so that's definitely part of it as well, I think.
Okay, I know there's a lot of snow globe collectors, so I know those things go for high, not just because it's Darkwing. I know there's other ones that are very expensive. I've seen like some Beauty and the Beast ones go for like $700-800. Lilo and Stitch ones that are expensive.
Yeah, Disney snow globe collecting is definitely a thing.
Okay, see, I didn't even know that, man, until a couple years ago.
Disney everything is a thing. Disney has collectors of all different types of merchandise. Disney collectibles are nuts.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to
and snow globes and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to stay on this topic too long, but I wish Stan the best of luck. For me, it's something I would like, but I don't want to pay $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 for it. So it's just gotta, yeah, it just has to be one of those things where someone is selling and they don't know what they have, or
that's really it.
Yeah, or just someone hit rock bottom and everything's got to go because my friend Joe got a great deals on some high dollar Funko Pops that were worth like $700, $1,000, and he got them for like below $200 because the person said they lost their job, bills had to get paid, they gotta go.
Well, Funko Pops can go for a lot.
Yeah,
me and my wife sold a Funko Pop a couple of years ago for almost $1,000. Those things go for a lot, depending on what they are.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that snow globe will pop up for me one day because it does look pretty cool. I can't deny that.
Before we jump into the episode, because we have a lot to say on this one, I just want to reflect for a second. We're recording this one on March 14th. Happy Pi Day. So it's been like I think a year to the day at this point that we started quarantine. And I can't believe how much me and you were able to accomplish on this podcast in the past year, even with a quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about how many people we interviewed, how many episodes we did, the virtual panel you were able to accomplish last summer, so many things we were able to do.
Yeah, man. And if you still have not watched that virtual panel, if you're new to this, I've noticed we got a lot of youngsters, a lot of people from the new DuckTales reboot. Check out that virtual panel. It's on our YouTube channel, Will Santana Films. Check it out. Like, if you love the old school Darkwing, we got a lot of the voice actors on there. We got Tad, the creator. We got the musical score, Philip Giffen.
James Silvani and Aaron Sparrow.
Yeah, so if you are interested in the comics or you know about the comics, they are on there. So there's a lot of info. And Bushroot creator. Jim
Peterson.
Jim Peterson. He's on there as well. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Now, Mike, what is today's episode?
Today's episode is one of my all-time favorites. It is called A Star Is Scorned. That title is based on an old movie called A Star Is Born, which I know was recently remade a couple of years ago. A Star Is Born. A lot of shows take that title. When I put A Star Is Scorned into IMDb, at least 3 other TV show episodes from different series came up. So this is a very popular title. A Star Is Scorned. It's got Bushroot in it. It's got the Muddlefoots in it. Again, it's one of my all-time favorites. Before we go deeper, what do you think of this one, Will?
I like this one a lot. It's not top 10 for me, but it's one of my underrated episodes. Is it tier 1 for you?
It might be.
Okay,
you know
me,
how I always say it depends on my mood. Sometimes the flashier episodes overshadow this, but this is definitely one of the most clever and definitely one of the funniest ones they ever did, for sure. It's just hard to deny there were better episodes like Negaduck and Negaverse and Banana Brain, all of those episodes. But this one is just fantastic either way. What were you about to say?
I was going to say this one is tier 2 for me, but I could see an argument where someone might drop it to tier 3. No,
yeah,
you know?
I've seen people say this is one of their least favorite episodes. I don't know why. But I think it's great.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say about this, Mike, is I really like the animation from this company for a change.
Yeah, we'll spend a moment talking about that when we get down to that section.
Okay.
I don't have an air date for this one.
No,
my source, who gave me all the air dates for the spring episodes in '92, this one does not have an air date.
Okay, but you have a production order for us, correct?
Yes, number 77.
Woo! We get further and further in that deep hole in the back.
As far as the syndicated episodes, this is only above one other episode.
The one that's next?
No, a few episodes from now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now that you mentioned our production order, let's get into the writers and the animation, man. Go for it.
Okay. So the story editor and the story was by Tad Stones, which really makes a lot of sense. This feels like something he should have had a hand in. I feel like this is my working theory that maybe they didn't know the show was getting renewed for ABC season 2, and they just wanted to write an episode that just skewers the TV business, how they screw around with TV shows to make them more profitable, but they ruin them in the process. That's pretty much what this episode is talking about. So Tad Stones, story editor, and he came up with the story. We have a one-time writer on this one, someone who I had really never heard about. His name is Haskell Barkin. Born 1933, died 2013. Not too much on his resume. Almost all his animation work was for Hanna-Barbera between 76 and 87. He wrote the Fluffy Dogs TV special. Now, thanks to the new DuckTales, everybody knows what that show is. And this episode of Darkwing Duck was the only Disney show he wrote for.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote a few episodes of the 80s Twilight Zone reboot. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Yes, he wrote a few episodes for that. Otherwise, not a very big resume, just this one Darkwing episode with Tad. If he wrote this script himself, this is a really solid script. Like, it's a really well-done script. And animation-wise, we have not seen Sun Woo in a while, Will.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
We haven't seen them since Time and Punishment, so it has been 6, 7, 8 episodes by now. I love their work on this episode.
Yes. There's really like a sequence where I really like it a lot.
There are several scenes where it's great. This might be my favorite Sun Woo episode of Darkwing Duck.
I think so too, man. So far from all the episodes we reviewed, this is the one, man. Like, this one really pops.
They are at the top of their game with this one. I don't think they'll ever be one episode. I think in ABC season 2 gets close to this, but I think this is their best Darkwing episode. A lot of great stuff in this one.
All right.
And I want to also give a shout out to the voice actors. There's a lot of dialogue in this episode. Like, it's wall to wall dialogue. The characters don't stop talking, but everyone does such a fantastic job, especially Jim and Tino and Sonia. They are so good in this one. Susan Tolsky too. The voice actors are really this is like top of the line as far as the voice acting goes. All right, so enough with this. Let's start talking about the plot. This is
right.
There's a lot to unpack in this episode.
All right, we got Goss and DW. They're riding in the rat catcher, and Goss wants to know why they are in such a rush, you know. And Darkwing, he's there to meet with a TV producer.
Yes, they're not fighting crime today. He has to meet with his TV producer. And so do you think this episode takes place in the Darkwing canon, or do you think this one is completely its own thing?
It's completely its own thing.
Like, this has nothing to do with the show. This is like the characters or actors on Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why I really love it. It's really gutsy to do something like this.
Yeah, and it's something different. You know, we kind of get away from the old school, you know, St. Canard crime fighting stuff. It's different, you know?
Yeah. Although Gosling's still clearly his daughter. Like, they're not actors. They're still related in that way. And so they're going to the Disney Studios. Not Disney. I guess they weren't going to use the word Disney, but they're going to the Disney Studios.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to get past the guard at the gate.
Yeah, he lets him in because he thinks he's somebody else.
Yeah, he's got the wrong duck.
Yeah, he asks him where's his sailor suit, so we know who he's talking about.
And this guard, there's several voices in this episode by Frank Welker, you know, greatest of all time. But this specific voice for this guard is the exact same voice he uses for Ralph the guard on Animaniacs, which is pretty much the exact same character, a guard at the gate.
Oh, okay.
Funny enough. You know, the big dumb guy voice he's using here. So yeah, he mistakes Darkwing for another duck. So they go inside, and who's getting all the attention?
Gosling is.
Yeah, she's getting lots of attention for being a great female role model.
Yeah, we hear her voice, though, before we get the Gosling running or getting the autographs, though.
Sounds a lot like Sonny Gummy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Miss Katie Lee.
So we know some other characters in this episode, too.
Yeah. But another fan mistake is DW. You know, after he asks for his autograph, he's like, where's the sailor suit?
Yeah, Darkwing at first is happy somebody recognizes him, but then he looks up to this gigantic lummox of a nerd who's so tall he can't even see his head in the frame. And yeah, he says it must be nice to get out of that sailor suit, huh?
Mm-hmm. Who was that guy voiced by? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure that's Frank Welker too.
Okay. Yeah, and then you know, Darkwing, he busts into Rockwell's to his office, and yeah, he's demanding a bigger publicity budget, like, because nobody's recognizing him.
Yeah, Darkwing sits at the desk and starts making all sorts of demands, including he wants a popcorn machine.
But Rockwell, he's not too happy with Darkwing. He wants a gimmick.
Yeah, I really love this, and this is where the Sunwoo animation really starts to get great. Darkwing's making these demands, and as Darkwing's like demanding things, Rockwell says, you know, the public's sick of Darkwing Duck. And Darkwing goes, I want a heart and lung machine. And he passes out on the floor. So Rockwell mentions spin-offs, and Gosling gets an idea.
Oh yeah, she goes insane with it. You know, she's all excited. She's jumping on the table. She's she was talking zombies and guns, and she was all
killed her friends and stole her dad's soul. It's great. And when Thaddeus Rockwell's like, no one wants a little girl as a star, Gosling's ready to tear him apart.
That was kind of sexist though.
Yeah, and now we see that there's a lot of cartoon shows now that have girls as main characters. But I guess in the 90s it wasn't as common. But yeah, definitely sexist. Yeah. But so Rockwell has a big idea to save Darkwing Duck, the TV show.
Yeah, he has a new gimmick, and he wants to bring a new like a co-star to take over.
Yep. And we hear, "Hi everybody." It is none other than
Bushroot.
Bushroot is the gimmick.
Yep.
So Rockwell says they're gonna bring in Darkwing's like, who's your new audience? Cabbage Patch Kids?
Yeah. And he threatened to shoot Bushroot with that weed killer, right?
Yeah, he pulls out the gas gun, and Bushroot, cowers. He gets a plant to stop Darkwing. So yeah, even though they're clearly actors in a show, they definitely have a rivalry going on behind the scenes. So so Rockwell mentions that they want to bring in a new audience of people who like mutants. Mutants are everywhere, he says, including turtle bowls. So what is he referencing?
I thought he was referencing the Ninja Turtles.
Of course he is, yeah.
Okay.
He goes up to Bushroot and he says, so Bushroot, do you know any of that ninja chopsagi stuff? And a great line by Tino Insania, he goes, is that like chow mein or something? Bushroot wouldn't know. So yeah, Rockwell's plan, he doesn't say it to Darkwing or Bushroot or Goslin, but he wants to ditch Darkwing, replace him with Bushroot, because all he has to do is pay Bushroot in fertilizer.
Yeah.
And keep all the profits for himself.
Yeah, he wanted to rewrite a bunch of the scripts though, right? Their old scripts.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like remix them.
Yeah, into different other types of shows. He says comedy, action, game show.
Yeah. So he has what was it, Crosby?
Crosby. Crosby's the name of his little lackey.
Yeah, so he has Crosby come in and start rolling the tapes.
This is my favorite part of the episode. Just like the next act and a half are just pilots. The two of them are just sitting in the office watching all these pilots. And this is when the episode really gets good, in my opinion. It gets very creative. So our first pilot features Herb and Binky. Yeah, Herb and Binky have a great role in this one. I think this is one of their funniest episodes. As construction workers about to level a forest to build condos.
And mini malls.
Yeah. So they're technically the villain of this pilot.
Yep. Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into that though.
But Bushroot's the hero.
Yeah, but Bushroot gets an entrance, Mike.
Yeah, he's not good at this. He comes in. I am the ivy that clogs your pipes. I am the taproot that clogs your pipes. I am Bushroot, and he grows a giant beanstalk that takes away Herb's tractor. Herb says that's one way to get a parking space. And so yeah, Bushroot and the Muddlefoots kind of have a conversation that, Bushroot says it's not right to build condos and knock down the trees, but Binky's like, we have the contracts.
Yeah, she got all the paperwork, man.
Bushroot takes the contract. He's like, but this says the forest will be destroyed. And Binky's like, yes, but the point is we filed it on time. It's great. And then Darkwing shows up.
Yeah, he has an interest, doesn't he?
Yes. I am the slug that slimes your begonias. And that's when he goes, I am Herb Muddlefoot, cast as a construction worker. So, yeah, he's confused why they're there. And he's like, Herb goes, it's a stretch, but we figured it would be a good career move.
Yeah. So Herb and Binky are explaining what is their role in this pilot and everything.
Yeah.
But
they're stuck. They can't get out of their contract because there's fine print on the edge of their contract that forces them to do this.
Yeah.
So them and Darkwing are stuck doing whatever Rockwell wants them to do.
Yeah. So Darkwing, he's caught between Binky's permit and Bushroot protecting the environment because Bushroot had a good argument as well.
He's not wrong.
Nope.
So Darkwing's inclusion here kind of makes no sense.
Yeah.
He kind of comes off as the bad guy in a way. And Bushroot attacks him with pine cones. And so Rockwell pauses the video. He's not interested. It's basically the same show, only instead of Darkwing as the hero, it's Bushroot. He wants something a little bit different.
Yeah. So now they target the younger audience.
With a kid show. It's Bushroot time. And we meet Bushroot's plant pals. It's Farmer Binky and Mr. Mulch. So Binky's got the overalls, and Herb is actually wearing a bag of mulch.
Yeah, Bushroot needs some volunteers. Who's his volunteers?
He calls Goslin and Honker down from the audience.
Hey, Honk is here.
Yeah, Honker. Yeah, next few episodes, Honker's gonna get this one and the next one. Honker's gonna get a pretty big role. So their job. He gives them a pie and a seltzer bottle, and whoever says the day's secret word, what's the secret word?
Aardvark.
Gets nailed. So they put on a puppet show, Herb, Binky, and Darkwing, where the evil duck is trying to stop Bushroot from saving the forest. and you got, Darkwing puppet and Herb and Binky are, they got tree puppets, and it's really funny. At one point, Darkwing goes, "Surrender, Dorothy." Hello, yappy dog in the background.
Yeah, that's my dog. Be quiet, Ellie. We're recording right now.
Yeah, we have to talk about Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. But Gosling, she sprayed Darkwing pretty early, though.
Yeah. Because he actually doesn't say aardvark. He says something else. So this is a running gag in the episode. He keeps saying things that sound like aardvark, and he keeps getting nailed by Gosling and Honker.
Yeah, but Rockwell, he didn't like this second episode either.
No, because little kids don't have buying power.
Yeah.
He wants to target it to people who actually can spend money on the merchandise.
Yeah, and then we get into another tape. Herb is setting up some dynamite, Mike.
Did you notice that Herb and Binky are still wearing their Farmer Binky and Mr. Mulch costumes?
Oh, I did not catch that. Oh, man.
They're clearly just filming these back to back really quickly, so fast Binky and Herb don't have time to change costumes. Because they're both wearing hard hats, but they're still wearing their costumes from the kids' show.
Yeah. Now, what happens next, Mike, though? I don't want to jinx it because I don't want it to go away. But
no, it might not. I mean,
no, I hope not. It's pretty bad, but
Darkwing and Bushroot are wearing commando gear, and they're going at it with all sorts of weapons back and forth.
Yeah, man, bazookas and guns, and it's all over the place.
I think what makes it okay is that Bushroot just realizes this isn't right.
Yeah, Bushroot does kind of save it, when he says, he complains that he doesn't use guns, and Darkwing condones, not condones.
Agrees.
Yeah, he agrees with it. Yeah.
I like Bushroot goes, "What am I doing? This isn't like me." And you hear Rockwell in the background, "Sure it is. Crosby, what's he doing?"
But Darkwing uses that time, to attempt a compromise with Bushroot.
No, Bushroot's not hearing it though.
He tricks him.
Did you see the plant that walks up to Bushroot with the bomb? It's Bushroot with no head.
Yeah, it looked just like Bushroot.
It's picture Bushroot, but no head.
Yeah.
So he hands Bushroot the bomb. Bushroot ties up Darkwing in vines, puts the bomb on him, and Darkwing's like, "BR, shouldn't you be the one in peril?" And Bushroot's like, "I'm a vegetable. What do I know about story structure?"
Yeah, so they sling Darkwing into the sky and boom!
Yeah, Rockwell's like, "Great act break. What happens now?" He dies.
Yeah, but Rockwell doesn't want to be stuck with all the Darkwing merchandise, so we can't kill him off.
No. Upside, surefire ratings gimmick. Downside, we get stuck with all the Darkwing merchandise, so they can't kill Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. So now, go ahead.
Oh no! They get a really great idea. What's the next pilot called?
I don't remember what it was called, but I know they want Bushroot to be a doctor and a lawyer.
Dr. Bushroot, MD, attorney at law.
So
for Bushroot's next witness and patient, Darkwing Duck.
Now,
so
Mike. Let me cut you off for just a second,
ahead.
Mike. Not at the very beginning of this pilot, but right when there's a spotlight part. From that on to the end of this pilot, I loved the animation. I freaking loved it. Yeah, man.
Later in this sequence, it does get really good.
Yeah.
So Bushroot is the lawyer and the doctor because he has a stethoscope around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Binky is the judge, and Herb is
the bailiff, right?
The bailiff, right?
Yeah.
So Darkwing falls from the sky because, again, these pilots are being filmed back to back. So Darkwing falls from the sky already charred and burnt. And Bushroot accuses him of wanting to blow up the forest. And Darkwing, who's all charred up, goes, "Do I look like the kind of person who uses explosives?" And I know I'm throwing out a lot of dialogue here because the episode is just so funny. I'm really enjoying talking about this one.
Yeah, but
Bushroot says, he's kinky for condos. He says.
Yeah, and Darkwing pretty much he's under trial.
Yes.
And Binky's ready to sentence him too. What is she trying? How hard is she trying to sentence him?
She's not good with math, so she's going to sentence him to an even century.
Wow, that's a long time.
And Darkwing's trying to defend himself. He's like, I love nature. I don't want to see it turned into car parks. What happens when he says car parks?
I don't remember.
He gets hit with a pie and sprayed again.
Aardvark. Oh yeah, that Honker and Goss, right?
Honker nails him with a pie so hard right in the face.
Yeah, and then there was something with bugs that came out.
Yeah, so Bushroot has in a jar a rare purple specked nitpicker whose home Darkwing wants to destroy.
Yep.
And Darkwing's like, I wouldn't hurt a fly, but I wouldn't step on a bug without checking it for full medical. And he looks in the jar, and it's not even a real bug.
No, it was like a twig or something, right?
Yeah, 2 leaves stuck together with crazy glue.
Yeah, and this is when I really start liking the animation, Mike, because like now they put a spotlight on DW.
Yes, this is when the episode takes a really crazy turn.
And then we get some new villains.
Yes, so Bushroot announces he put a herbal potion in the water supply and has turned the Muddlefoots into mushroom zombies.
Where did that idea come from?
Gee, I wonder who likes zombies.
Yeah, so now Darkwing is retreating, and I still am loving this animation. With the zombies, he's retreating, and like they have him running through this hallway, and he's like biting his fingernails.
Running up a spiral staircase.
Yeah, running up the spiral staircase. Oh man, I'm just loving this animation.
It's really good. Sun Woo did an amazing job with this one. They really gave it their A game for sure. And then Darkwing gets attacked by the mushroom zombies, and who should show up to save the day?
Yeah,
it's Gosalyn.
Yep, it's Gosalyn. She's like Rambo out there.
Yeah. She hits him at first with some butter packets, but then she whips out a flamethrower.
Yeah. So I'm still wondering, Mike, who wrote this one?
So they cut back to the office, and Crosby's like, I think little girl snuck in her own script pages. Yeah. And Rockwell says they have to get her some therapy.
Yeah. I mean, like, at first I didn't catch on it was Gosalyn until the zombie part popped up. I'm like, this got to be Goss, man. And then
we haven't seen much of Gosalyn in a while, so we kind of forgot about her.
Yeah. But, then once I saw her all Rambo'd out, I was like, okay, I know where this is going.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got another different pilot. Now we got Bushroot. He's like hosting a game show.
Earth of Consequences. Yes. So we've got Darkwing on the game show. He calls him the environmental pest and a moral leper.
Yeah. And
the animation in this scene, by the way, is really funny. Like Darkwing is drawn so strange. At one point, he takes his hat off, and his head is like 3 times as tall as it should be.
Yeah, Darkwing, he's getting upset though, and he's defending justice.
He says defending justice is hard work, and Gosalyn and Honker go after him again.
Yeah, but he didn't say aardvark. He said hard work.
And then he goes, how can defending justice be aardvark? And then they hit him again.
Yeah, and then we go back out to they're in the streets now with the rat catcher, right?
Almost. This act ends where Bushroot says the prize Darkwing wins is he wants to destroy, the trees and Bushroot's environment, but now he's going to have the trees destroy St. Canard. That's Darkwing's prize. Yep. We don't see what happens because after the act break, that's when we see Darkwing and Gosalyn on the Ratcatcher. We don't exactly know what happened yet.
Yeah. So they're on the Ratcatcher, and Bushroot pulls up in a very long stretch limo.
Yeah, Bushroot's living it up.
Yep. He's the new star now.
Yep.
Yeah, and he
says he has a meeting with Mr. Dizzy.
Yep. Who's Mr. Dizzy?
Obviously, it's Disney, yeah. And Darkwing's like, I never had a meeting with Mr. Dizzy.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the guard won't let him in again.
Yeah, he won't let him in. So Darkwing and Gosalyn, they got to sneak into the studio, Mike.
Yeah, Gosalyn says, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. But how do they disguise themselves?
Darkwing's got to dress up in that character that has a sailor suit.
It's Donald Duck, of course.
Yeah.
And who's Gosalyn?
She's Louie.
Yeah, she's wearing green. She's Louie.
Mm-hmm.
Darkwing is not happy about that.
Yep.
So, Mr. Dizzy, who you don't never see his face, only the back of his head, Rockwell, Crosby, and Bushroot are in a screening room. I guess Rockwell finally picked the pilot he wants to show to Dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
And Goslin decides, let's go into the projection room and switch reels and show them what really happened.
Yep.
And Rockwell says, roll it. And you hear Darkwing's voice. Yes, sir, Mr. Rockwell.
Yeah, he's up there with the real projector.
So I don't exactly know if this is part of like what was scripted or if Bushroot just snapped and started attacking things. It's hard to tell. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I'd love to know what Bushroot's doing here. Like, is he attacking the fake Saint Canard? Is he attacking the real world? I can't really tell what's going on. Yeah. But he's got these giant trees on a rampage. And Bushroot's like, I thought you would have cut this part out.
Yeah. And Darkwing, when they get to the pilot, Darkwing's like on a bell, right?
Darkwing has a great entrance. He's swinging on a church bell. He says, I am the editor that leaves you on the cutting room floor. And then he also says, I am the clock cleaner that will ring your chimes. And he breaks the bell and it lands on the trees.
Yeah. And Rockwell's freaking out while this is happening.
Yeah, no one should be seeing this. This shouldn't have been let out. This is not something he wants Mr. Dizzy to see.
Yeah.
So we got a marionette Darkwing with a giant pair of hedge clippers chasing some puppet trees around all over the place. And he says to Bushroot, I have only one word to say to you. Aardvark. So Bushroot gets pelted with pipes.
Yep. Yeah, and then Darkwing flips the game show on Bushroot too, that game show they had earlier.
Yeah, he tells him to pick door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. I think this next thing that is probably my favorite of anything Tino Insania ever said as Bushroot. He doesn't know which door to pick. So he's going, door number 1, 2, no number 1, definitely 3, no sorry 2. Sorry, I don't know. So Darkwing feels bad for him and opens all 3 doors, which are termites and bark beetles.
Poor Bushroot.
Yeah, poor Bushroot. And from there we go to a talk show.
Yep.
And someone has a compromise.
Yep, Honker.
It's Honker, yeah. He hasn't said too much, but I like that he's the one who comes up with this compromise. He says that you shouldn't level a forest, but people need somewhere to live too. Why can't you compromise?
Yep. So then they build the condos on the trees.
Yeah, so Bushroot gets along with the Muddlefoots. They agree to compromise, and everyone lives happily ever after. And Goslin says, all thanks to our hero and star, Darkwing Duck.
Yep.
So I'm glad it ended happy for Bushroot and the Muddlefoots and everybody's, friends. But Mr. Dizzy tells Bushroot not to quit his day job. So Bushroot ain't getting a show.
Nah, he's not getting it. And then Rockwell gets in trouble.
Yeah, as for Rockwell, he brings in the boys in accounting.
Yep.
Who are the boys in accounting?
Lucifer.
Yeah, a pair of Beelzebubs who come out with briefcases, and they're like, let's talk about your expense account, shall we?
Yeah. This time it was voiced by someone different, right?
Yeah, there's not Marty Ingalls. I'm not sure who did the voices here. It could have been Frank Welker.
Okay.
So maybe it's implied that Thaddeus Rockwell's going to hell. Because that's kind of what it looks like. He's surrounded by, the last time we see him, he's surrounded by fire. So we're wrapping up. Who does get a spinoff?
Darkwing, right?
No, the Muddlefoots.
Oh yeah, the Muddlefoots.
And then Herb says to Darkwing, "You want to play my wacky neighbor?"
Yeah, and then we get a cutscene, right?
So now we cut to the real Drake and Goslin. This is clearly the real ones from Saint Canard. Yeah. They shut off the TV, and Darkwing says, "That's the trouble with television these days. There's never anything good on." And he points the camera at the audience and shuts us off.
Yeah.
And
I just noticed we missed some vehicle cameos.
Oh, we didn't mention that.
No, we didn't.
We discussed this before we started recording. At the very beginning of the episode, when Darkwing and Goslin pull into the studio, we get a quick shot at the parking lot. We see Benny the Cab from Roger Rabbit. We see Cinderella's coach and Cruella de Vil's car sitting in the parking lot.
I only noticed Benny. That was the only one I noticed. I didn't catch the Cinderella and Cruella de Vil's car.
Benny's the most obvious, and the scene
Yeah,
goes by really quick.
it's so fast. Yeah, I saw Benny's though right away because he was the closest one to the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
when the episode ended and Drake hit the remote control, I watched this yesterday with my daughter, and when he did that, she goes, "Hey, he shut us off."
All right, so Mike, man, let's get into some review and some scores on this episode, man.
I love this episode so much. I really, really do. When people ask me what my favorite episodes are, for some reason, I never mention this one because I probably have never told you I love this one.
No, you never have.
It never comes up.
You mentioned that it was under the radar for you, though. Like, a lot of people don't talk about it, and you liked it, though. But you never said how much you loved it. You never said that.
I love it so much, I'm going to give it a 5.
Woo! Really?
I think it's a fantastic episode. It goes out of the box. Like, it's stomping all over the canon of this series. Like, stomping all over it.
Okay.
The Muddlefoots are hilarious. Like, this is the last great Muddlefoot episode. It's the last solo Bushroot episode. And Tino Insani's just nailing everything Bushroot says. Darkwing's funny. Goslin's funny. Honker's got a good role. The animation is like, this is the best Sunwoo episode. It definitely is.
I can't argue that. I can definitely not argue that.
It's so creative, and it's making fun of the television industry, just how they ruin shows by retooling them.
Okay.
Like clearly Tad Stones had something to say with this episode. Clearly he had something he wanted to say, and you definitely feel that when you watch it. It's a really smart episode. It's something that maybe as a kid you might not like it that much, but the older you get, the more you get the jokes.
Okay.
And I really love it, and I just want to give it a 5. Wow. Very few episodes going forward are getting a score that high. Maybe 1 or 2 more, but yep, 5. How about you?
Okay, I can't go quite that high, but I can see your argument. To me, you have a fair argument. I'm gonna go a 4. I love all the cameos. You know, with the Donald, the Louie, Benny, Cruella de Vil. I just love this episode, man. You know, the Muddlefoots are hilarious in this one. I wish Honker would have got a little bit more playtime, though. Just a little bit. Next week. Goslin, like you said, I forgot about her, but the way they brought her back is just hilarious, man. It's hilarious how they bring her back with the mushroom zombie and having her up there like Rambo and stuff.
And going into the projection room was her idea too. So
yeah, and you know, the whole episode, even though that there's so many pilots, the whole episode is based on the environment and the Muddlefoots, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's really that whole plot line that keeps going with it. So it's really cool. The only argument I had what I don't like about the episode is I didn't really care for the game show and the kid audience pilot, though.
Okay.
You know, the animation is strong on those. I just didn't really care for them, but I did like the you know, with the bulldozers in the forest.
Right.
I definitely like the mushroom zombies. I liked all of the other stuff. The trial one. So
the trial one is great.
Yeah, the trial one is definitely amazing. Crosby and Rockwell are great. I can't argue too much about this episode, man. It's great. It's a 4.0 to me.
Yeah, the game show I can't hate, if only for environmental pest and moral leper. Like, those are great insults.
Yeah.
4 is good. 4 is good. I'm not going to argue with that.
Okay. Do we have a villain rate on this one?
No one worth rating. Okay. It's our last solo Bushroot show. Has your rating on Bushroot changed at all since we started doing this podcast?
Yes. I need to rescore him. Are we going to do that now, or you want to do it later?
In his last episode, we have too much to deal with in that one. So let's go back to him now. Let's talk a bit about Bushroot. Let's wrap up Bushroot for this episode.
I think Bushroot was one of those characters that came on too early, and then he finally got stronger and he finally evolved. You know, the whole plant thing kind of seemed pretty weak, but the jokes, and I think from It's a Wonderful Leaf is where I really started liking Bushroot a lot.
Absolutely. I'm going to definitely co-sign you on that one because, yeah, Bushroot was very early on, And I don't think the plant thing is as fun as Megavolt or Quackerjack or Negaduck. Definitely. But you're right. And then Bushroot kind of disappeared. He didn't have any solo episodes for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we hit It's a Wonderful Leaf, and then all of a sudden, Bushroot just came into his own.
Yeah, he came into his own, got like different storylines. They got him away from Saint Canard on a couple of episodes, like, Twin Beaks and stuff. Yeah, so man, Bushroot was just, man, he really came a long way. So I guess my score for him, I'm gonna give him a 4.5.
My score for him was 4 when we did Beauty and the Beat, so I'm gonna bump him up. I can't put him on equal terms as Quackerjack, Negaduck, and Bushroot. I can't go 5, but I'll give him 4.5.
Yeah, that's what I gave Liquidator too, so I think that's a good score for him.
Yeah, because Bushroot isn't flashy.
Yeah, he's not flashy.
I don't think he's really anybody's all-time favorite either. I haven't heard people say, "Oh, Bushroot's my favorite."
I know a few people that follow our podcast Facebook page and or in our Instagram, but they're not that high. The numbers are not that high for Bushroot.
No, certainly not as much as Quackerjack or Megavolt. But he's just such a great character. He has all this depth, and the voice acting for him is so great. So I'm happy to raise my score on him.
Okay. All right. So that's a Star Is Scorned. Mike, what we got next?
Another classic. Another all-time classic by Dev Ross.
Ooh, I already know what it is.
We are talking about, I think, the defining Goslin and Darkwing episode, and probably one of the best Negaduck episodes ever. Quiverwing Quack.
I think we're supposed to have a guest for that one. Didn't Tori ask for that one?
We will have to check.
Yeah, I definitely had to check. It might not be able to work out because, she started working recently. So we'll see how that turns out, if we can get her on or not.
So no promises, listeners. We'll do what we can.
All right. So we got Quivering Quack next. Dev Ross, man. That's a great one. I love that one.
Yeah, this is her masterpiece. This is the last one she wrote solo without Tad.
Okay. So, Mike, for the people who tuning in for the first time, where can they find us?
We are everywhere. Stitcher, Spotify, Google, iTunes, YouTube. We have lots of stuff on YouTube besides the podcast. iHeartRadio, Pandora, Radio Public, and Pocket Cast, including, and also way more other things I don't mention. Any shout outs, Will?
The only shout out I'm going to give is to the people who listen to us on Apple. I noticed an increase on our Apple listeners. It was increased by 11%, Mike.
All right, that's a big amount.
That's a pretty big amount. Yeah, so thank you to all the people who found us on Apple and you're tuning into us. I'm assuming it's some of the DuckTales guys, fans. I don't want to say guys, that's pretty sexist, but DuckTales fans, male or female. Yeah, appreciate it, man. Yeah,
thanks everybody. I think maybe the cross promotion with Duck Talks might have helped too.
Yeah, that might have helped too. That was really fun to work with them.
Was real. We should do something with them again.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's gonna wrap this episode up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure y'all check us out next week for a Quivering Quack. And Stan, good luck on that snow globe.
And Will, I only have one more thing to say to you.
What's that?
AARDVARK.
All right. Good night, everybody. Stay dangerous.
Good night. Surrender, Dorothy.